434 days, 10 hours and 8 minutes. I have not only been impacted by the abrupt world pandemic, but also my community's actionable and impressionable response. Hello, my name is Jayla Washington, and I am from the Low Country Leadership Chapter in the lower region of the state. And I have been chosen to represent my chapter as a South Carolina state candidate. Throughout this speech, I will be reviewing the effects of COVID-19 and my community's influence on how I impact others' lives. I believe that influences are vital in creating a vigorous and actionable impact. For instance, throughout the pandemic, influences such as interning at the Green Heart Project have had a positive influence on my viewpoint of what community should look like. When the pandemic hit, I was devastated that I couldn't finish my softball season or even compete in my floriculture CDE. After much sympathy for the victims who lost their lives to the virus, I finally looked within my community and family and found a light that I was missing. That light was community service and serving others despite the obstacles that were in front of us. After being influenced by services such as delivering food from the Low Country Food Bank and helping the Green Heart Project start their very first CSA bag, I started my own SAE that provides food for those in need. I've even influenced my school to start a free food program, which includes a blessing box and fresh produce fridge. I've also influenced students at my school to get involved with FFA and even become officers, which has impacted and made a more diverse and cohesive environment within my FFA chapter. I continue to be shaped and molded by everyday life. These different influences act as strong roots that have made me flourish and create a vigorous and active impact within my community. As I have been influenced by my community, today, I hope to influence the future leaders of tomorrow.
Good evening. My name is Kaden Gates, representing the Nation Forward FFA chapter from Region 2. It is my pleasure to have the opportunity to be running as a state officer candidate this year to better be able to represent South Carolina FFA and FFA members throughout the states. My desire as a state officer is to be able to directly impact the lives of those around me through my own character and passion for the FFA. I believe that each and every one of us, whether we know it or not, has had an impact on the lives around us. My goal is to be able to create a positive influence, which then in turn creates a positive impact. Looking back on my own life, I never knew what events would lead me down the path I am on today. Even now, the things I may deem insignificant could come to revolutionize my life in the coming years. This is something I feel that we are all guilty of. Whether it be simple actions as the way we're walking down the hall or the tone we have in our voice when talking to our friends. Each one of these has a say in the influence and the impact we have on those around us. It may be hard to see in ourselves sometimes, but we can all think of a time when one person had walked into the room. And whether that person was a friend that we wanted to see or someone we weren't quite too fond of at the time, them walking into that room, their influence impacted you in the moment. And once we're able to take that first step of understanding how others impact us, we can then in turn learn how our own actions are able to impact those around us. This is what I believe our greatest strength is. By merely being able to understand how those around us and how our own actions create an influence, in turn an impact, we can start to make a better world for tomorrow. If I am able to simply by changing my atmosphere and how I interact with others, create a better future for those who come after me, then I will do whatever I can as a state officer to make sure that dream reaches all across South Carolina. Thank you for your time.
The FFA Creed by E.M. Tiffany. I believe in the future of agriculture with a faith born not of words but of deeds. South Carolina FFA Association, I want to be your candidate for deeds in this upcoming year. As a young girl, I was impacted by my chapter advisors, not through their words, but through their actions. They showed me the value of hard work, responsibility, and dedication, all core values upon which agriculture and the FFA are built on. This is why they are so stationed by the owl, to pass on the wisdom that they have learned and to provide guidance when needed to the next generation of leaders in not only this organization, but in the community. The impact that my advisors had on me inspired me to do the same within my community, specifically with the very young citizens of Dorchester County. My chapter hosted field trips for local elementary schools to come and see our farm, Foxroots Farm, and to learn about agriculture and the importance of agricultural education. Much like being a state officer, this not only informs and involves the community in agriculture, but it also exposes the rising generation to it and leaves an impact that will stick with them for years to come. As a state officer, I will continue this influence that began in Somerville in the Ashley Ridge FFA chapter and started with my advisors, and expand it to encompass all of South Carolina through the state association and starting with me. That is why I believe that American agriculture can and will hold true to the best traditions of our national life, and that my influence in my home and community will stand solid for my part in that inspiring task. My name is Sophie Eklund, and I am representing both the Ashley Ridge FFA chapter and Region 4 in my run for state office. Thank you.
Walking into the Sunbelt Ag Expo, I didn't really know what to expect. Seeing this big combine in front of me that was the size of my community swimming pool really blew me away. It's crazy to think a machine that big can impact our everyday lives. Hey y'all, my name is Olivia Geese and I'm from the Indian Land FFA chapter representing Region 3. Growing up in the more urban part of South Carolina, I never really experienced the farm life or what FFA was really all about. At the time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and nothing really seemed to interest me. This changed my sophomore year. I was sitting in my guidance counselor's office signing up for my classes for the upcoming school year. She threw me in this ag science class that I had no idea about. At the time, it didn't really interest me. But first semester came around and I sit in my class looking like a lost puppy. A few weeks later, my student intern shows up. She walks into class with her arms open wide and a big smile on her face. This made me feel so welcomed and actually made me want to show up to class. What really got me hooked was her lesson on soils. She had so many activities from on paper to hands-on that even got me involved with the whole class. This made me feel welcomed and ready to learn. She influenced me and impacted my life, not only on my outlook on agriculture and the FFA, but also my future. It taught me that even with a helping hand and a simple smile on my face, I can really impact someone's day. Through all of my FFA camps and workshops that I've been to, I've met so many great new people and heard their stories on how FFA has impacted them as an individual. Seeing the smiles light up on their face when I asked them what their favorite part was just seemed to brighten their day completely. I love hearing people's news stories about little fun things they did at camp or any activity they've done through the FFA. My goal as a state FFA officer is to meet all the new members all over the state and hear how FFA has changed them and influenced them to impact others' lives. My goal with my state officer team is to build great leaders today for an even better tomorrow.
Hey South Carolina FFA, my name is Veronica Corville and I'm representing the Lawrence FFA chapter from Region 2 as your 2021-2022 state officer candidate. I'm currently attending Lawrence District 55 High School, where I've been an active member of FFA for the past 4 years. I wanted to join FFA to be able to learn more about the agriculture industry and to grow my leadership skills throughout the FFA. I have gained so much knowledge through this amazing organization through career development events, leadership development events, community service, and other competitions and activities through the FFA. But not only that, I have gained so many friendships that will last a lifetime. Through the FFA organization, I was around other people in my chapter that I really looked up to. After seeing those people that I looked up to accomplish so much through FFA, and seeing what all FFA has done for them, made me realize I want to be a leader to inspire other members. One experience that stands out to me the most whenever I talk about being a leader is a new member of our chapter joined FFA. She was wanting to be more involved in FFA because the career she was striving for was agriculture based. I introduced her to all the current officers. I explained to her how FFA has impacted me and what it has done for me over the past 4 years. I helped her when she was signed up for her first Creed speaking LDE. It was the very first public speaking event that she's ever done. It meant so much to me when she got her placing back. Even though she didn't come out on top, I was still extremely happy for her. Now she has signed up to be an officer for the upcoming school year, and I couldn't be more proud. And to think about the impact that I made on her life definitely brings so much joy into mine. I want to be a state officer, not because of the title. I want to be a state officer because I want to help students who didn't have the confidence in themselves like I did whenever I first joined FFA. I want to have an influence on other members just like I was influenced over the past 4 years so that I can have a positive impact on other members just like I was in the earlier years of being an FFA. Thank you.
Hey y'all, I am Cherokee Henson from the WTC Kershaw County FFA chapter, and I'm representing Region 3. Let's start by going back to 3 years ago. I had just been elected as historian of our chapter, and I was very shy, reserved, and I let other people influence my decisions. Now, let's fast forward to the beginning of this year. I was elected as president of our chapter, and I was worried about going to college, getting into vet school, and wanting to do something big. Well, over the last 2 years, FFA had really became my safe haven. So the first thing I did this year was turn to FFA. I put on my jacket for the first time, and I was ready to hold and go to every event possible. I had no idea how many people were watching me and looking up to me until April. In April, I hosted a potential chapter officer workshop for all of our officers and all of our members who decided they want to be an officer next year. Well, at the end of the 3 days of this workshop, my FFA advisor had came up to me and said, "You would be the perfect ag teacher." I brushed her off and kind of laughed because she had been saying this all year long. That night when I got home, I put on my jacket and I was sitting there harping on the memories from this year, and I received a message from one of our members. It said, "Thank you for everything that you've done for me, and thank you for the workshop. You have no idea how much you've impacted me and our chapter and our community." And while sitting on the floor in my jacket, I didn't realize until sitting there that while I had been impacting the lives around me, they had been influencing me. Sitting there that night, I realized I could not give up on advocating for agriculture or FFA. So in the fall, I will be attending Clemson University as an agricultural education major in hopes to be an FFA advisor and agriculture teacher, because I don't want to be the one to stop the impact. So South Carolina FFA, let me give you the same opportunity as I've had as your next state officer, so let me influence to impact you. And I am Cherokee Henson from the WTC Kershaw County FFA chapter, representing Region 3. Thank you.
Do you remember as a child throwing a little rock into the water and watching the ripple it creates? You sit there amazed at how it does that. The one tiny stone creates something much larger than its initial contact. The same concept holds true to us in our day-to-day lives. We create a ripple effect that spreads far and wide when we approach a situation in a positive manner. Everyone who I encounter in my day-to-day life has had an influence on me. From the way I present myself to the little traditions I hold, such as lifting my feet on the train tracks when I go over them. I believe that wherever I go, I have an influence on others as well. Those influences in our life make an impact just like a little drop of water can make the ripple. We don't ever know how far the ripple goes, just as an impact carries from one person to the next. A few of the people who have had an influence on my life would be my advisors, Ms. Jacobs and Ms. Cox. They provided me with many opportunities as well as giving me advice that I will take with me on my future endeavors. They have helped me believe in myself and become out of my shell. My 9th grade self would have never stepped in front of someone and willingly spoke. But now, even though I still do get nervous, I speak anyways, confident in myself. My mom, dad, and brother have also influenced my life. My brother helps me and pushes me to become the best person I can, to remind me to stop and live the moment every now and then. My parents influence me to be compassionate to everyone I meet, because you never know what's going on in someone's day-to-day life. You can make their day just by simply smiling to them. Each of these individuals have influenced me and has driven me to want to impact other people's lives. An example of a time that I possibly felt like I influenced someone's life would be when I encouraged a young FFA member to run for a chapter officer position. She felt like she didn't have anything to contribute to the chapter, and I encouraged her to apply, and I also helped her through the process. Now, she is a chapter officer, and since then, she has encouraged many young FFA members to step out of their comfort zones and become active in our organization. For me, it felt like just a little drop of water in her huge bucket, but in reality, it's a ripple effect that will carry on to many other members. I'm Eliza May, and I'm from the Conway FFA chapter, representing Region 3 as a state officer candidate. I challenge you, South Carolina FFA, to influence to impact. Thank you.
Influence. The capacity to have effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. That's just a definition. But for people like you and I, there are much more simple ways to describe what influence truly means. Hey y'all, my name is Quentin Miller, representing the Saluda FFA chapter from Region 2. Influence to myself is a factor that affects you in life that has changed you for a lifelong impact. For most, these influential moments could be the death of a loved one or a personal health crisis. But for me, some of the most influential moments of my life were the 2008 economic crisis and joining the FFA organization. These moments created what I consider a cause and effect factor on my life. In 2008, my family was greatly affected. Due to an extreme drought and an increase of beef production costs, we had to sell all of our cattle. What I had grown up with throughout the younger years of my life was gone in just a few short months. This influential moment and a struggle at my old school led me down the road to join my local FFA chapter. By joining FFA, I found exactly what my impacts are to become: to teach the next generation about agriculture, to prolong the greater agriculture industry, and to save family-owned farms. You see, these influences in our lives impact us in a way that allows us to make an impact on others. To elaborate more, the influences on your life allow you to make an impact on others and yourself. In my time as a chapter officer, I've seen firsthand how the influences on your life can impact you and others. So, to anyone listening, find your definition of influence, whatever that may be, and turn that influence into a lifelong impact.